Well, when Don Mancini came to me and he told me that I was going to be playing myself in a movie, I wasn't quite sure how that would be because a lot of times people play themselves and it can border on parody. And Don was like, exactly, that's what we want to do is parody. And so I kind of went with it. I said, you know, if I'm going to play myself, you have to make me the bitchy diva from hell because my whole thing is to exaggerate everything to the point of ridiculousness. And actually the first draft that he did, the studio rejected because they said, Jennifer Tilly is so unlikable. So you had to do another draft and sort of tamp it down a little bit so I wasn't, like, I was still unlikable, but he put in reasons why I was unlikable. Like, even Tiffany was making excuses for me. She'd be like, oh, don't worry about her, she's hormonal. Or, you know, I would be rude to my assistant, but it's because I had low self-esteem. So he was always looking for ways to soften my character. When I did the voice of Tiffany first, and when I was in the studio doing the voiceovers for Tiffany, I kept thinking of things, and maybe I shouldn't have. But for example, there's a scene where where Tiffany's pulling Jennifer Tilly along the floor, and when we were doing that scene, I went, whoa, she's fat. Just because I was planning to lose weight for the part, but in case I didn't lose weight, then I just wanted it to sort of be in there that was how Tiffany saw me. And of course, anybody would be heavy to Tiffany because she's just a little teeny tiny doll. But I was always putting in stuff like that. Like, there were scenes that I think we didn't actually live in the movie where Tiffany is talking about the bad career choices that I made. She feels very territorial about me because everybody always says that she sounds just like me, and people have said that she looks just like me too. So she's my biggest fan, but she's sort of borderline stalker. And that's why Chucky and Tiffany decide that I'm the perfect person to carry the spawn of Chucky, because Tiffany hero worships me and Chucky thinks I'm hot. Well, I love doing the voice for Tiffany because she's so outrageous, and, you know, she's a homicidal little doll. Obviously, there's not a lot of reality going on there. When I played Tiffany originally in Bride of Chucky, there was two Tiffanys. There was live Tiffany before she turns into a doll, and then there was doll Tiffany. And so I did kind of a delineation between the two Tiffanys. When she became a doll, I gave her a lot more doll-like voice because I figured all of a sudden her vocal cords are little teeny tiny plastic vocal cords. And so she has more of a baby doll voice, and the real live Tiffany has more of a grown-up voice. When I did Jennifer Tilly and Tiffany, I tried to make Jennifer have a husky movie star voice, and Tiffany still has a little doll-like voice, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell them apart. Like, I have a sneaking suspicion both of my voices are exactly the same. Like, sometimes when we would be doing voiceover work after the movie is finished, Don would say, I'd do a line for Jennifer Tilly, and Don would say, oh, there's a little bit of Tiffany creeping in there, and I go, really? Like, I wouldn't hear it. So, but I did try to make Tiffany have a higher voice and Jennifer have a lower voice. The thing that was really fun about being in the movie in the flesh is because, and actually very surreal, is I got to interact with the dolls, but one of the dolls that's running around hitting me over the head and knocking me out and yelling at me for making bad career choices is actually speaking to me in my own voice. So I have to say that was a little freaky. Well, Don Mancini, he really has an affinity with Chucky. I think this is the 5th Chucky movie. And he has a very outrageous sensibility that I think has progressed. In the beginning, Chucky was just a homicidal, screaming banshee. He didn't have a lot of personality. But I think about the 4th one, The Bride of Chucky, started to creep in that he was a person with frustrations and desires and vulnerability. In that movie, you actually see him being in love. And in this movie, now he has a kid. So I think the weird thing is he's sort of transmogrified from being something totally horrendous to somebody you can kind of identify with. And Don even addressed that in Bride of Chucky, where he has a kid go, oh, Chucky, he's so 80s. He's not even scary anymore. And I think he's really done a great job of kind of moving with the times. I'd say Seed of Chucky has some truly horrific, gore-filled scenes because Don Mancini loves horror movies, but it also has a lot of humor, which I think was lacking in the earlier pictures. But Don is a great director. He is very, very well prepared for this. You know, I loved working with Ronnie Yu too. I think Ronnie's film was perhaps a little more, maybe more haunting. I mean, you could really see the Hong Kong influence in that film, is that there's like a lot of rags flapping in the wind and, you know, beautiful cinematography. The person who did the cinematography for Bride of Chucky went on to win an Oscar for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Dawn's movie is more... It's got so many homages to other films that have come before, because Dawn is a total film geek. So when you're watching the movie, you'll see references to Psycho and Dressed to Kill, and even more obscure movies like there's the kid in the movie is called Glenn or